Hello everyone, this is Bytesauce and welcome to episode 30 of Feed the Beast Unleashed. And this episode I want to finish off my rail system. So between episodes I've added booster tracks to all my normal track, and I've also added booster tracks to the high speed bit, except for this bit, which these aren't activated. Now the reason these aren't activated is because when you come off a high speed section of track you need to slow down. And I've set up a little system which basically what it does is will activate the tracks when you enter the high speed part, but it will deactivate them, or they will stay off when you leave it. So I'm going to show you how I did this at the other end. Okay, so as you can see I'm at the other end of the high speed track, and I've got 5 booster rails that are used to slow you down. So the first thing I want to add is this thing, a detector any. Now as you can see I've placed it facing down, so this face with the square on it is currently facing straight down. And the reason for that is because I want when it detects to emit the redstone signal downwards. Now the reason I've used abyssal stone here rather than the normal fence stuff is because when you add a rednet cable to it, it connects directly. So it will send the redstone signal straight into the block, which will activate the rail. And then I need one final piece of track here, and then I need this programmable rednet controller. And I'm going to set up the same thing I quite often set up, which is a pulse lengthener. And once again, this is the input, this is the length of the pulse, and this is the output. And I want to set it so this one here, if we can just remove this track so it makes it easier. There we go. So this bit here, I want it to change it to orange, so that way when it receives a redstone signal from the detector any, which I can do from here, so from up on the orange part, I want it to output upwards, so the same direction on the white section, so that's any piece of track. And then all I want to do is quickly set this to say 2 seconds worth, so that's 40. Right clicking, but there we go. So I've got a constant of 40 ticks, and that way when a cart, if I've got one, there we go, lands on this section of the track, I should place down the track again, there we go, the tracks illuminate, as you can see. So these are all activated now, and as soon as the cart is removed, these will deactivate shortly after. Now, so when I'm coming this way, these won't activate because it's not being detected. So they will slow me down, and then I will be able to pass this safely. Now on the way in, it will activate because it will detect it here. These tracks will activate, and it will continue on and be boosted onto a higher speed. A couple of other changes I've made. I've set this to also activate on yellow, and the reason for that is when the other end of this the chunk unloads, this will start to will change yellow, and the reason for that is because it can't fully detect the whole track. So I've changed that to yellow, so that way when I meet this, if this is on yellow because the chunk is unloaded, it will just continue on. Now hopefully that shouldn't cause too many problems, but there is a potential it might make me explode. That's fine. And the other thing I've added is this switch lever. Now the reason I've added this is because when you come off this Y track, it will send you in this direction by default. So as you can see, this is the slightly longer rail than this one. So you come off, it will send you this direction. Now I could just have this side as the direction out, but I didn't want to do that, so I changed it to this side. And the way I did that is using this switch lever. As you can see, I click this, although the texture doesn't change, this little arrow points in the direction it's going in. So this is now pointing in this direction. So if we put the cart on, give it a push, it'll go that direction. Now if we remove it, flip it to that side, push it, it goes this way. So I've added one of these to each end, and that way it will always send me in this direction, and there shouldn't be any collisions. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the power system next. So I'm up here at the end of my track, so my track basically comes this way, and what I want to do is I want to differentiate at this point between the energy cart and me. So I want to continue on forward, I want the track to then change its direction and get off somewhere around here. And then I can step on my teleporter and be teleported up to my island. But I don't want the energy to go the same direction, I want it to divert at this point, come here and then be unloaded around here somewhere, and then the power can be run over to here with a better cable. And the way I'm going to do that is using one of these things, which is called a detector energy, and this will detect any cart that can store energy in it. Whether it's full or empty, it will detect it. And to demonstrate, I'm actually going to use this one, which is the detector any, and I'm going to use that just so I can pretend to be the energy cart. Now they will do the same sort of function. So placing the detector any in this direction. So currently the output is into this block, which should affect the switch motor. And then I get a piece of switch track like that, and this will, when this activates, this switch track will switch motor will activate and change the track so any carts go this direction. And now, easy way to test that would be to run down here, place the cart down, and test it. So you start by going up here, up the hill we go, and then it will get to this motor, it will change, and I will go in this direction. So that's basically it. Now I'm going to change this to an energy track, an energy detector, and then I've basically sorted it. I just need to sort the discharging out. So I've changed the track up a bit. It now comes down this way and then goes downhill a bit, and then comes down this direction, and this is where I've got my energy unloader. Now a quick note about the energy loader and unloader is they don't have a valid recipe. So I've had to actually cheat both of these in. Now I did have the stuff ready, I put it in the crafting table and it just doesn't work. So if you're playing on single player, great, just cheat yourself a loader and an unloader in. If you're playing on a multiplayer, then it might be a valid recipe, it might work. If it doesn't, then there's not a great deal you can do about it. Try asking an admin, maybe. But anyway, I'll tell you how the system works with them. So the cart's going to come down here and then place some more track, and then it's going to get to this thing, a holding track. This is the same thing that is at the junction part of the high-speed track. And then simply this has one very simple option: wait till empty. Now what this will do is it will wait until the energy cart is empty before emitting a redstone signal. If you turn that off, I believe it doesn't send a redstone signal. So I need it on, and then what it's going to do is the cart's going to come down full of power. It's going to get to here, discharge its energy into this, which I'm going to then run a cable up from here into the MFSU. So there's my teleporter up there, and then it's going to discharge into that. As soon as it's empty, it's then going to continue on forward, which obviously I'm going to need to dig out a bit. So it's going to continue this way, loop back around, and then eventually be attached to this track here. It's going to rejoin this track, go home, and need to be refilled again. Okay, so at this end I've set up the same sort of system. I've got the little system under here that's controlled by the switch motor, and then it comes down here, not too tidily down here, but this isn't really meant for the passenger, it's meant for the MFSU cart. And then I've set up my energy loader here, which is hooked up to my steam turbine, and then this is set to top off. So that means basically the cart will come in here, it'll stop, and it will fill it all the way up. So it will fill it totally before it emits a redstone signal, and the cart will continue that way. And then it will come out of here, rejoin the track, and continue on its way. And then finally, over here, we've got this area, which is where I said I was going to set up the train station. I haven't got around to building it yet, but I will eventually. It's going to end up having a small platform. So it's going to have like a little platform that you can stand on, and then you press a button, and the cart will come out. Now, the way I'm going to do that is using these things, which are cart dispensers. Now, I'll place one here and one here. I'll tell you what this one's for in a bit. And then I want to place on top one of these things, which is a, where are they gone? Buffer stop track. So it acts like a little buffer, so nothing can get past. And then done. Oh yeah, these things are really annoying. I forgot about that. So fill it up with carts, and then what's going to happen is it will dispense a cart onto this track here. It will come down and pick me up and continue on away. But I need some booster track here, otherwise it's not going to be going fast enough to actually reach this one. Place that down, so we've got our booster track here. It's lit up by this torch. I've also added this just so I can test it. And I need one more thing, which is this track here, a passenger pickup rail. Now, if I just remove this and place it down, it doesn't actually do anything, except for when a cart hits it. Now, if we quickly flick this lever and run over here, as you can see, it picks me up and throws me in the cart. I don't have to click the cart at all, it just puts me in it. And that way I don't need to do anything else. And there's also one of these things, a passenger drop-off rail. And this does the same thing, but obviously the opposite way around. When you're in the cart, it will kick you out. And this is how I'm going to get myself out of the cart when I come back. And then what I want to do is the cart will come along, kick me out, continue off this way, and I want this cart dispenser to pick it up. So I'm going to replace this rail with, where are they gone? Just going to grab one. It's a detector rail. So we put the detector rail here, and then when the cart gets towards it, the detector rail will activate, and this cart dispenser will pick up the cart. And then all I need is a simple system to pump the carts out of here and push them back into here. So this will have all the carts in it, and this will obviously not have any carts because there's no carts going to be coming out of here, only this one. So there we go. So final little test. I've set up this thing, which is basically it has a wireless transmitter on the back, and then this has a wireless receiver on the other side. This is just to cut out the redstone work basically. And then hit the button, cart comes out, picks me up, throws me along. I very casually cruise towards this one. Might need a bit of a boost there, but there we go, and then we can continue on our way. Now all I need to do is set up a very similar system on the other side. Don't need to show you making that, it's quite easy to do. Now I was testing something out, and I placed down my FSU cart and my personal anchor cart. If I just give them shoved together, and if you link the two together, then one should pull the other one along and everything should be fine. Now it shouldn't slow it down too much, I don't think it should slow it down at all, but if I push this onto these powered rails, it moves all of 3 tracks. That's 3 booster rails, and then it moves 3 tracks and basically stops. So the only solution I've got to this currently is either change every single track to a booster track, and even then I think it'll slow down coming off the high speed part, or I can chunk load it all using world anchors and anchor sentinels. Now all anchor sentinels do is, rather than having a 3x3 square with a world anchor, it will chunk load 9 by 1, so it will chunk load 9 chunks in a row, and then it's only 1 wide, so that way I can get quite a lot of efficiency. So I think I'm going to have to chunk load all of it using them and these spot loaders as well. So a mix of both. Every single track is going to have to be done, but I guess that's what you're going to have to deal with. Okay, so I might have took the best part of 9 chunk loaders and I think 5 spot loaders, but it's working, so there we go. Send the cart down. This should refill, and then once it's refilled all the way, it's going to take a bit of time, but once it's completed, it should continue on its way all the way over to the other side and then discharge over there. So I'm going to meet it on the other side. Hopefully it will go through all the chunk loading fine, and yeah, I'll see you then. Here it comes. There's my MFSU cart. I'm quite excited about this actually. So it should turn down here, nip down there, and then start to unload. Working just as intended. Now hopefully if we just break this block here, and perhaps this one, we'll see the power coming into here. We'll take this crystal out. Power's coming into here, and then I'll eventually be able to use the teleporter. So that should keep the teleporter stocked with energy. So that's pretty cool. I quite like that. So that's it for this episode. Next episode I'm going to be starting on this area. What I want is I want access to my items, all my items that are currently in my base. I want access to them without moving them. So I just want to use them, but keep them over there, because I don't want to use them over here. I don't want to keep them over here at least. So that's it for episode 30 of Feed the Beast Unleashed. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and I will see you later.